Hey, what's up everyone? Today I'm going to talk about a game that I think deserves a lot more attention, Karate Survivor. So this came out at the end of October from Alawar Games. You might know them if you played the Beholder series. I think there's 3 games in that. They also made Necrosmith and a game that I like very much called Wall World. So this is an action roguelike. Let's call it a bullet heaven. There's not a lot of bullets, but it's very similar to like a bullet heaven. But again, I really like roguelikes that bring something new to the table, and this one has really done it. So you play as a karate master who very closely resembles a certain kung fu movie star who I will not name in this video. You beat up attackers, you collect money, which is your experience as you go. Every time you gain a level, you get a choice of 3 cards, like most roguelikes, right? These are upgrades to different stats. Base damage, critical damage, range, health, speed, all these things that you're probably used to. Or you get a new move to use in your karate cue. Right now there's 5 maps, each with a unique boss, and there's 2 levels of difficulty, standard, master, and if you beat all the levels on master, you unlock the legend difficulty, which is a lot of fun. So let's talk about your hit queue. This is your main way of fighting is your karate moves. You have 6 slots, and you start each run with 1 random move. There's 3 different colors of moves, red, yellow, and blue. They're all different types of moves, they have different stats, but each one has some things to consider. So the first thing that you want to take a look at is the direction of your attack. So if you look at the card, you'll see an arrow pointing to the right. So these are not relative to how you're facing in the game. An arrow to the right always means forward, no matter which way you're facing, always means forward. An arrow to the left means behind you. And then up and down literally means up and down on the screen since it's 2D. So to keep this in mind, sometimes you might want to be using a build with moves that all hit forward. Sometimes you might want to have some that hits behind you, up and down. Again, everything is a little bit different, so just pay attention to what directions you have. They also have other stats on it like radius, damage. That's the main ones you'll see. Radius is basically like, okay, if it only hits in front of you and it's a 45-degree radius, that means it hits 45 degrees from directly in front of you, right? So that you just got to keep that in mind. Some things only hit one direction, but have a very large radius, sometimes even 180 degrees, sometimes 360 degrees. So just pay attention to what kind of moves you're taking and what kind of stats they have. Beyond that, it can have other things like bleeding damage, piercing damage, bonuses like extra crit chance, extra radius, or status time like to bleeding and things like that. So it's pretty simple to understand. You have a green timer that's above your character. When this green timer resets, your move starts again. They get used from left to right depending on how many you have. If you only have 1, it only triggers 1, obviously. And then you got to wait till that timer goes all the way around, then it'll do it again. But if you have more, it does one after the other until the timer runs out, and then it starts it over. So you have less time in between it. The colors do matter. Okay, if you group the same color together, you get a damage bonus for them, which gets better as you chain together more of the same. It starts at 40% and goes to 200%. This will make a massive difference in your endgame builds, so try to get all of them to be the same. As you unlock more moves, you'll not only get more powerful ones, but you'll also trigger the serial number system, which I don't mind talking about that. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but I'll leave some things out. The serial number system, if you put the moves in number order, you get even more bonus attacks. Check it out in the video here. When I have them in order, and I'm landing the attacks, there's bonus attacks that happens around you. Sometimes they're all the way around you, sometimes they're directional. It depends on the color of your moves. However, if I have them out of order, they won't trigger even if I'm landing them every time. So finally, even after you unlock them, you can upgrade them as well, up to level 7 of each. This is really important. You're not going to get through a run very easily with level 1 and level 2 moves. You gotta level them up. They get just exponentially better as you level them up. More damage, sometimes more radius, more crit. They just get better. You want even more damage, you want that stopping power. That's most of what you need to know for the moves. You can be successful with a lot of different builds. Just find the moves that you like and what you like playing with best. Personally, I've had the most success with the red moves, but I've beaten the final one on Legend with all colors. I've done it with yellow, I've done it with blue, done it with red. It really just depends on which moves you like the best and which ones you've locked in the meta upgrades. There's also moves that you'll unlock as upgrades that aren't attacks, but it may include a small attack, like sliding under things like rolling over furniture, running up and jumping off of walls and clearing out an area of enemies. Once you unlock these, you always have them. You don't need to take cards in a run or anything like that. They just happen whenever they're triggered. It'll be up to you to learn how these are triggered and what situations they're best in, as well as how you can use some of them for crowd control, which is really what it ends up being used for. So just like in Kung Fu movies, the other way you'll be beating down enemies is through the environment. You'll get 4 different things you can use: throwables, kickables, stationary items, and weapons. So throwables are one-use items. You'll see everyday things like bricks, plates, bottles, motorcycle helmets, flower pots, all kinds of things. Use as many of these as you can will help you whittle down groups and finish off more powerful enemies, or if you just need to keep them at range for a little bit while you get away. All you need to do is you run into them and it'll throw it. Take note that using these and any of the other environmental items, as well as the moves I mentioned earlier, like sliding and rolling over furniture, will stop your hit queue where it is, and it'll resume once the move is finished. So if you have, say, 3 moves in your hit queue, and first one's a punch, you slide under something, it'll stop the queue, and as soon as that move is done, it'll continue in your queue till it finishes. So just keep that in mind. So the second environmental one is kickables. There's lots of items that you can kick. So you have to unlock these in the meta upgrades. And they do unlock pretty quickly right at the beginning of the game. And you unlock them in size order. You start at small. That's things like soccer balls, then medium items, which are like barrels or shopping carts, and then really big items like maybe wooden pallets with stuff on them that you kick and hit a whole bunch of people at once. There's also some special types that have more than just the pushing effect, like the leather chair that you can spin around in and knock a whole bunch of guys at once. And some of them are even usable more than once. However, most of them are usable only one time. The third one is stationary. These are usually much larger items that have different overall effects. Large billboards, water towers that can collapse, tractors that you can dump rocks on the groups of people. There's a generator with an electric cord that's in water. You can electrocute a whole bunch of people at once. These usually only affect a certain area and sometimes take a second or 2 to trigger, but if you time them right, they can be really devastating. So the fourth one is the weapons. So there's lots of weapons on every stage to be found. Wood planks, baseball bats, pool cues, lead pipes, ladders, lamps, plastic flamingos, guitars. Everything has a limited number of hits and do different damage, so you really want to time them well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Aside from melee weapons, you'll also find guns in some area. There's a pistol and there's another one that you unlock later in the game. These are also very limited, but they pack a big punch. The difference with them too is they only shoot in a straight line, but they'll penetrate any number of enemies. So you really want to try to maximize by lining up your groups, and those guns will shoot through every single one of them and do a ton of damage. Alright, so power-ups. There's a couple power-ups in the game, most of which I won't talk about now because they're unlockable later. But the first one that you will see that you don't have to unlock is the energy drink can. When you pick this up, you'll get 4 arrows. All you got to do is press the direction that you want to attack, and you'll unleash a massive attack in that area, which can take care of huge groups. This is really powerful, especially in the early maps where you first see them. Other power-ups show up as something you can pick up, just like the energy can, or sometimes as a card that you choose when you level up that'll trigger right when you take it. The other thing that you can pick up is the silver crates. So the silver crates are really important. You get these in the closed rooms, which is another unlock for later, or you get them when you kill mini bosses. So these crates are filled with a whole bunch of stuff. They're filled with the teeth, yes, teeth, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. That's how you buy your meta upgrades outside of runs. But they're also filled with either 1 to 5 cards, and those cards are just like the ones that you get when you level up, but you get them for free. You don't have to pick. If you get 5, you get all 5. It doesn't matter. All right, enemies. Let's talk about these for a little bit. You're going to find tons of different kinds of enemies depending on which map you're on, and they all change a little bit. Most of which are basic melee types with a little bit of variation. Damage, attack type, health. Some of them are bigger. Some of them have like charging moves that they'll do at you. Some of them throw items like bottles, knives, or bombs. Some of them are faster moving than the others. Some are stationary and don't move and try to block you into areas. But then there's the mini bosses. So mini bosses look exactly like regular units, but they have a white outline. They have a lot more health, much more health than a regular one, and they do a lot more damage in some cases. And especially in the later on, if you do legendary difficulty, some of those can almost one-shot kill you. So you got to be really careful. but the same, but they otherwise they're exactly the same as what the enemy that they look like. If it's a bottle throwing enemy with a white outline, it's still a bottle throwing enemy, but it's just does a lot more damage and it has a lot more HP. But the good thing is when you kill these mini bosses, they give you a silver crate, which is really important. And that gives you, again, the teeth and the cards. So you're probably saying, well, what are these teeth? Yes, teeth. Sometimes when you beat up enemies, they'll drop teeth and money. Money is for experience during the run. Teeth are for upgrades outside of the run. Those are your meta upgrades. Stage bosses also drop a lot of teeth, and all normal units have a chance to drop them. So you'll get a lot of these. So a couple strategies and some recommendations that if you're going to start to play. So first off, your meta upgrades. So those are the upgrades that are done outside of the runs. These are permanent upgrades that change the entire game. Always match meta upgrades to whatever fits your playstyle. However, there's two that I would always recommend getting first. One is the upgraded experience one, and the other is the upgraded teeth. So if you do the experience one, that gets you more experience during the run. This just makes everything easier on you. The other one is the teeth. So you spend some teeth to get more teeth overall. So obviously the earlier you do this in your entire playtime, the more teeth you get. So at least do one or two of those upgrades before you start on the other ones. It'll just save you more teeth and more experience, and everything will be easier overall. But otherwise, match to whatever you think is best for your playstyle. Second one, don't neglect your moves. So the first two maps have a ton of weapons and throwables. They're everywhere. But you'll probably notice if you get to the third map, which is the rooftops, you have to become much more dependent on your moves. So don't neglect them. Fill those move slots and get upgrades for your best moves. Weapons. Use weapons wisely. They all have a set number of hits before they break. I mentioned this earlier, but we didn't talk about it. So for example, things like the lamp may only have 2 hits. The broom may have 3. The baseball bat may have 5, and so on. They're all a little bit different, and they do different damage. However, a hit is only counted as a swing. And what I mean by this is, if you hit one guy, that's 3 hits. But if you hit 10 guys, 10 guys, 10 guys, that's still 3 hits. So you want to hit as many people as possible with every swing that's going to connect. If a swing doesn't connect, it doesn't count it as a hit. But no matter how many people you hit with one swing, it still only counts as 1 hit. So you want to hit as many people as possible with those swings. Sometimes you can't avoid it. Sometimes someone's in the way, or they clip just the edge of it and you get 1 hit out of it. But try to hit groups as much as possible with weapons is best for it. Be sure to check the upgrade menu. This is how you see how you unlock everything, whether it's a new karate move, whether it's a new move to slide under things or roll over bigger things, whatever it is, this is what tells you what you have to do. Everything has like an achievement tied to it, where you have to do this many times and then you get it, do this many times and then you get it. So make sure you check that. That way you're just not accidentally not doing something when you could have unlocked something already, and it's just so you're aware of it and you're doing it more. And my last recommendation, bosses. So bosses are interesting. They spawn by themselves, but slowly more enemies will join them. What I found I had to do a couple times, if you are really low on health with when you start on a boss, that is a really good time to regen if you have a decent regen stat. So you can avoid bosses pretty well. They're not overly difficult, to be honest. But if you have very low health, you might want to avoid them for a little bit while those other ones spawn until they get group spawning, and just regen. There was a couple times where I had only a sliver of health starting the boss, so I didn't want to risk it and get hit by him, but I could pretty easily kill the onesies and twosies that were spawning while I regened and not take any damage. And by the time I was ready, I had like 30% health, so I was perfectly fine. Just a recommendation. And that's it. There's a lot more to it, but I'm going to leave that for you to discover. There's a lot of things to unlock. There's a lot of things to upgrade. There's a lot of things to go out there and find. So I'm not going to talk about everything. I'm going to leave it for you. They already had a pretty big update to the game. So one of the things that they added that I really like when roguelikes do this is they added a hyper mode. Or that's what Vampire Survivors called it. They call it a hyper mode. Karate Survivor calls it high dynamic mode. It's just a fancy phrase to say that everything is sped up. So they pretty much sped up everything from by like one and a half times. You don't have to have it on, but I personally don't play on anything but hyper mode or high dynamic mode. You can choose it at the start of the game. You don't need to unlock it, and it's available for all maps and all difficulties, and it just makes everything faster. Your character moves faster, your attack speed is increased, animations are faster, time passes at an accelerated rate. That's actually my favorite one, because you know what, if I'm going to take 30 minutes to do a run, if I have the ability to do it in 15 or 20, that's how much time I want to take to do it, because I want to do more runs. The speed doesn't bother me, and it takes less time, which is fantastic. So I'm really happy that they already added this in the game. I think all roguelikes, for the most part, should add something like that. So that's it. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Check out some of my Let's Plays of this. You can see some of my higher level runs in legend mode of like the subway and stuff like that. Please ask any questions if you have them. Please like and subscribe. See you next time.